Well, good morning and welcome to Mayor's Weekly. We're pleased to be back with you after being away for a few weeks for the holiday season. And let me say, from all at city government, we hope the holidays was a pleasant time for you. You had time to enjoy your family and do the things that we normally do over the holiday season. December was a busy time here at City Hall, and I'm pleased to report busy with good things, nothing bad, and that's certainly makes our life easier. A lot of things we were working on and in preparation to undertake some major projects here in fiscal year 2022, calendar year 2022. But this morning we want to talk with you. Kathy Shamliss, our Chief Financial Officer, joined me to give you an overview of what the operating results look like for the city in fiscal year 2021, which ended September 30. It takes a while to get all those numbers together, as you have to pay bills, and you can't close the books till you get those things taken care of. But it's a great year, stacking on top of a number of good years previously, and the cumulative value of those efforts. Kathy shares with you the numbers. You'll get to see this. Had a gentleman accused me of bragging about the operation of the city, and I said, well, I plead guilty because it's something to brag about. Last week, Kathy and I spent probably a couple hours talking with a financial analyst about the operating results of this city and our financials, and a person highly skilled, works for Moody's, based on Wall Street, probably holds an MBA from a Ivy League school, and this person was very complimentary as he looked at our financial spread, and that is looking at 3 or 4 years of our operating results of what's happened here in the city. I think that was your take, was it not, Kathy?
It certainly was. He was very complimentary of how well the city has grown its fund balance in the general fund, and really impressed by the growth we have had in revenue.
Right.
And maintaining a flat expense, as we'll talk some about in a minute.
And Kathy, if you will, let's give a general overview. I mean, we've posted some of these numbers on our website, but we like to bring it to you verbally, and as you know, we always welcome your questions and would be delighted to answer any questions about our operating results. But we're very pleased with the results, and Kathy, share that with you, and I'll tell you a little bit about our thinking as we go forward. Kathy?
Well, Mayor, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021, the City of Jasper had a $29.5 million total revenue in the general fund. And what that really means to us is we look back on other years. In previous years, what normal revenue growth is about 3%, 3 to 5%. Those would be normal revenue growths. Well, for fiscal year ending 2021, we had a total revenue growth of 11%. Several factors probably brought that on, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we proceed. But I wanted to just let people know that the revenue growth we had at September 30th, 2021 is so much above what normal revenue growth was. But in addition to that, the city for fiscal year ending 2021, we had expenses set at about $19.6 million. And that was up a little bit from previous years. We have been able to maintain a pretty flat expenditure growth. And when I say that, it's really expenditures were only growing maybe 200,000. You could look back in previous years. But in 2021, we did have a little bit more in expenditure growth, but still well within our budget, and probably brought on more as a result of some higher cost in fuel. We know that was one area that got hit.
And we use a lot of fuel running this city. When you think about police, fire, and public works, a lot of fuel.
A lot of fuel, and so we saw that in the numbers. In addition, we had a larger payout to some employees that had been here a very, very long time, and they had some accumulated sick and other leave that the city paid. So we lowered our overall liability for that, but it cost us in 2021. But actually the city still, even with a little bit more in expenses, we ended fiscal year ending 2021 with a fund balance in the general fund, revenues minus expenses minus our transfers. Those are the areas that we look at. We ended with a 5.1 million surplus to add to our previous fund balance of about 9.4. So that is a very, very successful year for the city of Jasper in the way of finances. So our fund balance growth now is 14.5 million, and that's why our analyst was so very pleased with the financials operations that we were able to provide him.
Well, Kathy, I was reading just yesterday, and syndicated columnists writing about all sorts of things, and this particular person was writing about municipalities can't rely on high revenues forever. And I'm so pleased that our council, under your direction and recommendations, that we haven't lived for the day. We have, you and I have talked often about this, that some people talking about preparing for a rainy day, whatever you want to call it. We know that a time will come when the land will lie fallow, if you will.
No.
And
It will.
we know that we're prepared to weather the storm.
Correct. And, it will come, and we have seen it, seen when sales tax actually dropped off
Right.
and did not have any increase. And so, but we're ready for that should we encounter that.
Now let's talk about some people say, why do you need all that money in the bank? And Kathy shared it with this analyst the other day, and he I've dealt with people from the north, and I'm not being critical, but just from a person with a country background, and I spent 38 years in the banking business, what I've told our folks, what we told that analyst, that we've never seen any money go bad in the bank. It's always there when you need it, isn't it?
That's right.
And so we take a lot of comfort in having plenty of money in the bank. Now, what you're going to hear week after next, and I'll talk about next week in a few minutes, we're going to talk about the 4-point plan that's been talked about, and how we're about to launch the planning that will undergird those projects getting underway. And those are big projects. We made our best call on the front end what we think it will cost, and certainly we can conform to those numbers by making sure the projects conform. But at the same time, it will just point, case in point, I would say, our city hall, we think it'll cost $5 million, but let's say it happens to be $5.5 million. We can go to these reserves, not cut corners on our city hall, that sort of thing, and not have to shut the project down, that sort of thing. And there'll be other needs come our way. You look at our budget this year, and we're a quarter of a way into fiscal year 2022, and the numbers look awfully good. But if you're a football fan, I've seen a lot of times where a football team was leading at the end of the first quarter and lost the game. So way too early to say we're going to have a good year. But we are pleased with where we're at in this new year, to see revenues continue to grow. Jasper is on the radar screen for a lot of people, retail establishments that are making inquiries, our industrial recruiters meeting requests for information almost on a daily basis. None of that's real until it's real. But if you don't have those kind of inquiries, then certainly you can't grow from an industrial standpoint and a retail standpoint. Another good thing that's happening for us, Jefferson County in the Bessemer area, Smucker's just announced a $1 billion investment for a major operation there. It'll employ 750 people. There'll be some folks from Walker County work there, Jasper, and those things help us. I like for a person to have their house here and spend their payroll check here. If they do go to Birmingham, that's okay. But if they live in Birmingham and spend their money, that doesn't help us. And so we head into 2022 with a high level of optimism that we'll post another good year, that we'll get these major projects underway. Now, next week, I can't be here. I'll be here the week after that. I will be traveling to Montgomery with others. We received a text from the governor's office last week asking us to come to Montgomery, where what we think we know, and with a great deal of certainty, that there'll be an announcement on grants that be awarded. We've been working on a sizable grant that would fund a project here in our city. We think that has been approved, and we'll be going there to I think receive word on that. It may be something different, but if it is, that's another major project that we'll have going in the city, and a lot of money. And Kathy's been very persistent in pursuing this grant, working with our grant writer, trying to make it happen. I think we've been working maybe for 3 years now. Is that right, Kathy?
Correct.
So, sometimes things take quite a while to come to fruition, but we'll be back with you week after next, and we'll report to you on what we learned in Montgomery, and then we'll begin to give you an overview of how we're going to approach building a new city hall, a sportsplex, a major paving project, and we'll be establishing committees and getting those things launched, and because those are huge projects. You think about $25 million. And Kathy, I know the answer to this before I ask, but it's important to ask. You've been here 33 years, and as a chief financial officer, you've never been involved in a $25 million project, have you?
Have not.
No. And so, it's a little difficult to grasp if you had never been there. And so we have to begin our efforts to have a solid game plan so we can have crisp execution, make those things become a reality, and do what they're supposed to, and that's benefit Jasper. So we're glad to be back with you again. I hope your holiday season was good, and I said while we won't be here next week, we will be working for the city of Jasper, but we'll be with you week after next to give you a report on what we learned in Montgomery and talk about our 4-point plan. Send us any questions you may have. Hope your day is good.